Hello, welcome to Setting the Stage with Bucks County Playhouse. My name is Michaela Murphy, and I am the Director of Education at Bucks County Playhouse. And we're excited, and thank you for joining us this afternoon as we talk to two of our Anastasias from the stage. One from the current production, her name is Jada Lynn, and we have Christy Altomare who's going to be joining us in a few minutes. But thanks for coming, and let's get started. So let's welcome to the screen Jada Lynn. Hello, hello.
Hi.
So Jada Lynn Harlan, you just opened in Anastasia a few nights ago. How are you?
I am feeling great. I mean, it was a crazy first weekend. I'm so proud of this cast and pulling everything together in the little time we had. We had our first day off yesterday, so feeling great, feeling rested, full reset. So
Congratulations. It is such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful show. And just amazing when I heard about how quickly this all came together. Can you talk about when you auditioned and when you found out that you were cast in this role?
sure. So I believe I sent my initial tape early October or like end of November. I think that's right. And then I had my first in-person appointment around mid-October, and then final callback the week after. And that final callback was to be considered for the Anya cover and female ensemble. So it all happened very fast, and I was at Goodspeed Opera House while this was all happening. So I had to take the train back and forth, commuting to the auditions and the callbacks on my 2 days off, and then coming right back for the show. So it was a lot. But then I believe right at the end of October, I get dates messed up all the time, so I can't tell you an exact one right now. But I got the email from my agent that I had been offered Anya, and I was like, the Anya, like the role? And they were like, uh-huh. So that was quite a surprise, quite a shock. I mean, I felt a really great vibe from the audition rooms, from Eric, our wonderful director, Al, everyone really, but I never expected to actually be granted the role. So yeah, and then we rehearsed like 2 weeks after that. So everything happened like that.
That's really fast and even more impressive when you see the show and it's so beautifully realized. And congratulations, that's amazing. So I also know that you were at the Manhattan School of Music,
Yeah.
and so tell me about that and about that trajectory into this role.
Sure. So I just graduated from Manhattan School of Music in May. It is not your typical BFA musical theater program. It is a BM because the school is a music conservatory. So I just got my Bachelor of Music, and it was a fantastic program. I really think the connections and the faculty and their curriculums really adapted well to me and shaped me into the performer I am today. It was very heavily music focused because of the Bachelor of Music. So, starting your freshman year engraved in music theory and just me seeing how music is the narrative for everything. I don't consider myself a great dancer. So even though we did have dance classes, quite a lot of them, it was very music focused. And I think that has always been what drives me as a performer. And so I, funny enough, never really sang any of Anya's material in school. A lot of people did, and I admired those who could. I listened to it and I was like, it's a bit too high for me. So props to y'all who can do that, but it's not my thing. But I just really appreciated the program allowing me to bring in what I wanted to bring in and seek roles that I think were truly me and connected to me. And although I didn't know this role was going to be one of them, it trained me and crafted me into such a driven performer and such a time-oriented performer that I think that it makes sense that this role landed on my lap. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I want to correct, I mispronounced your name. So Lyda Jane Harlan. So
it is Lyda Jade. This is so
Lyda
common that this happens. It is okay. I am not a stickler.
So it's wrong on the screen too. But like a name is a name. So my apologies for that.
Okay.
So is there a role that you are that you have your sights on?
Ooh. Great question. I really would kill to play Zenla in Spring Awakening, which is, that's just one of my favorite musicals of all time. And there's going to be a point where I'm going to be too old to play it. So I'm just really hoping that presents it to me at some point in my career, but that is probably top tier role for me. I grew up with a father who played in like a rockish country band, and I grew up on a lot of classic 60s rock, and I just loved that kind of vocal ability, and I really adapted to it growing up. So I would love to bring like a pop rock score onto the stage for myself.
Oh, that's really cool. And if anybody out there watching and listening has any questions or comments, put them in the chat and we'll do our best to get to them. So let's go back to Anastasia. So you get this part and it's a very, very fast and furious rehearsal process. What's some of the discoveries, or what's like something that surprised you about the process?
Shockingly, how fast I learned the part. I mean, we had 10 days. People say 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, 2 weeks, more like 10 days. So it went by very quickly. I just think what shocked me was how quickly I connected to the people in this cast. I think they all take care of me throughout it. It is a lot of heavy lifting on my part, of course, but it's really them who, gracefully carry me throughout the show, whether it's the way they dance, the way that my scene partners work with me. It's just the people I work with really made this process happen like lightning. And so that really surprised me. And we finished blocking Act 1, I believe, within like 2 to 3 days. So
That's
just
amazing.
the way that this creative team, Eric, Al, and Evan just threw this together. I don't know how, because it is a very big show, and I was terrified to start. I also had like laryngitis the week before I started. I got my upper wisdom teeth out. I was like, am I even going to be able to do this? But I did. And that is probably the biggest shock of all.
That's pretty amazing. That's fantastic. Did you see the Broadway production of Anastasia?
I did.
So you saw our next guest, Christy Altomare.
It was actually, funny enough, it was a high school field trip, and there she is.
Hi, Christy.
Hello.
Nice to see you. So you went on a high school field
trip? And that's when I saw the production.
Christy, that's so great. So Christy, welcome. And Christy, I know that you saw the Bucks County Playhouse production of Anastasia. I believe that you might be frozen. Let's see if she unfreezes. There she is.
Hello?
There she is. Hi, there you are. There you are. You saw the production of Anastasia at BCP, yes?
I did. I was one of the lucky people who got to be there opening night. It was so special and magical and such an epic story. My goodness, you were amazing in the show.
I agree. And what was it like for you, Christy? Because you originated this role, went back at Hartford Stage and then brought it to Broadway, and for the entire run, which is something like over 800 performances, I think. So what was it like for you as like one of the originators of this show and this part to see it performed on stage?
Yeah. Well, you know what I realized? It had been 5 years since I've seen a professional production of the show. And my husband hadn't seen a professional production at all of the show. So I'm sitting next to him like, you're going to see this. And oh my goodness, did it deliver? What was so cool about it is that I'd seen all the professional productions I'd seen were either from the tour or from Broadway, which are kind of the same direction and costumes and choreography and everything. So this was a completely new, version, but it still honors it is the show. It honors the show. But then there were so many other directorial elements to it that were new and interesting and special. And that's what I love about art, is that as this show will continue on, it can be like there can be new interpretations of it that just take on special meaning. One particular was for me, there's this moment in Still. I don't want to give too much away, but there's a moment in Still where Anya comes. It's so cool. It's just so cool. But there were so many cool moments like that in the show. And then the snow was just magical. And the costumes. I found out that one of the people who worked on the Broadway production had a hand in your costumes. And I was watching it going, wow, these costumes are great. And then they were like, oh, Ricky did the costumes. I was like, of course. They were gorgeous. You looked so beautiful up there.
That's pretty cool. That, and it's interesting too, like when you see something versus being in something, you have a, completely different perspective on it. Was there anything about the story that struck you in a very different way?
Ooh, you know what I loved about this production? I mean, because I was always in the show, right?
Mhm.
And I remember that our director, when we were first doing would always say, like, yeah, the love story really matters. But there's so much that's happening in Anya's story of trying to find her grandmother and her memory and what happened to her. It almost feels like such a side plot, the
Yeah.
love story.
Mhm.
And our director would bring it up, like, no, it is really important. And then watching the show and seeing the amount of chemistry you both had, it is so important, because you wouldn't care as much if you didn't have that love story between Anya and Dimitri. And it's there in this production. It's totally there. It's so romantic, on top of this mystery. So there's a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Oh, that's very, very cool. And what was it like? What was it like for you, uh, Lyda Jade, in perform? I got it right.
Yes.
What was it like for you to perform this, like just right out of the gate? You had a very brief rehearsal period.
Right. I mean, all of it, I think, is thanks to Eric and adrenaline. I really think what happened naturally on that stage was going to happen inevitably, especially like you talk about the chemistry between at least Mason and I. I think things like that just have to happen, especially with limited time like that. And with working with such a great actor as Mason, it's going to just happen with ease. I have a hard time explaining this process to people, probably because I've blacked out those 10 days in my brain. Because everything has felt so easy. And I've told Mason this countless time. I'm like, working with you just feels easy. I don't have to really do anything. And there we are. Wow, what a picture that is.
Yeah, that is cool.
But yeah, he really helps with the process. And I think having a creative team that doesn't have a strict cookie cutter view of what this show needs to be really allowed for me to play with it and develop an Anya that I could connect to personally, which I haven't been given the freedom to do before. So I think that is also a big part of why this process was just so good. And I think why people are liking the show, hopefully.
Yeah. What's your favorite? I always like, what's your favorite part of the show? I know it changes, but what's your current favorite part?
Man, it's in between these two moments, but I guess I'll choose one. It's so hard. Stay, I Pray You is probably my favorite song in the show. And I will refuse to get political, don't worry, but it's just singing that with this incredible ensemble every night about having to, leave your nation, and because maybe your nation's betrayed you. It's quite a beautiful thing to just sit with and be surrounded by fantastic actors on a stage for. And I think that has to be, to this day, my favorite part of the show. And I really, am grateful I get to do that. It's just a beautiful moment. And I think it's one of the best written songs in the show itself. So,
and can I also say one other thing? Though I said all these great things about the show, but I didn't say anything about you, Lyda Jade. You were on the arc that you have from the beginning to end, because the hard part about Anya is that she really does go from, I mean, yes, princess, but she really does start having traveled across Russia and being downtrodden. And it's this rough, you don't know who you can trust kind of attitude. And then you go all the way to the other side where you build your trust with Dimitri and you become this princess and this queen at the end of the show. And you own both aspects of that. And that's another element that is very important in the show. And you did it. So congrats. I had to put that in there. I didn't know if there was going to be a second.
I'm so glad that you took the time to say that. That's that's beautiful and very accurate. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And Christy, what was it like for you, what was your influence in I know that when you're creating a character in a new show, oftentimes with the director and with the creative team, you have a lot of input into the shape of that. And as the rehearsal period goes on, you begin to have a lot more insight into the character. So can you talk a little bit about that for you and when you were originally developing
When I was developing, I came in for the Hartford production, and they had already been working on it for like a couple years ahead of that. So they had done a few readings, and they came about a script that they felt really confident with. Musically, they changed minimal things. There was one song that was shifted. Perry Holds the Key was a much longer song that went into the details of all the famous people in Perry at the time, and each person in the ensemble dressed up as a different famous person. Like there was a Picasso, there was an Isadora Duncan, and they all had a moment. Chanel came out. It was very cool. But those little changes were made. But as far as the core of the script, I think the first day of rehearsal, Darko came up to us and he's like, "This is the script. Like, it is not changing. We have it. This is it. So honor the text as much as you can." And we had the great Terrence McNally who created it. So I think on my end, it was more about how do I not, first off, Broadway shows cost a lot of money to put on. So it's really thinking about how do I not waste, they cast me. How do I not waste their time? So I would wake up every morning. I made sure I knew all my lines before rehearsal started. I had plenty of time before I found out that I got the role. I had like a month and a half. So I had memorized all the lines. And then I would wake up every morning and go to the gym and work with a coach before rehearsal every day, because I wanted to make sure every time I got a note that I was fixing that note adequately before we went into rehearsal. And also I had a good idea of who I felt Anya was. So if there was a moment, as happens sometimes in rehearsal, where Darko would say like, "Do you have any ideas about what you want to do with this song?" And I'd say, "Yeah, can I show you?" And then I do it and he'd say, "Do that. That's the choreo. That's what I want." And that didn't happen, all the time, but just that he could trust me, that I was coming in with something.
Yes.
So that's how I approached it. And it was a lot of hard work, but I find that front loading when you're working on an original musical is way more important than trying to figure it out while you're in the midst of it, because there is no bootleg, there is no source material other than the animated film, and this is very different medium. So yeah,
it's true, and it's also wonderful to have to work with a creative team that has a real vision. And I feel like one of the things that's great about the Bucks County Playhouse production is that it's such a beautiful vision created led by Eric Rosen, who's with us today as well. So Eric, if you're here, you can join us. Hi, Eric. How you doing?
Hello.
This is Eric Rosen, who is the director of Anastasia here at the Playhouse. Eric, can you talk about what it was like to do this? It feels like it was very fast and furious. I know that you've been preparing for this for several months now, but it just feels like it just kind of, it's the end of the year, it happened.
Not so many months as you think. It's my third show at Bucks County, and I love the theater so much. But I was only asked to direct it in, I think, late July or August, and to me, there's something really amazing about pulling something together really quickly versus shows that take multiple years to make. That everything in the production is an immediate response to the material, rather than me sitting staring at with the designers, like, what if it was like this? What if it was like this? Working with designers that I know and trust to make a world really quickly, and then lightning round casting the show and pulling it all together, and just trusting that I know great talent when I encounter it, and trusting the people that I hire to do great work. The only thing that really was surprising to me was that I said the first day, I was like, "You guys, this has to be a joyful process. It is so fast. The mood in the country is so complicated and challenging right now. It has to be joyful." And it's not usual that happens. Not every show is a big love fest. And everyone kind of got on board, I think, because we were all a little tense. We started, the energy was tense. The first day was election day. So we all went through something together, however we felt politically, and kind of gave us a lot of bonding. But it also helped that I know, I knew the original production pretty well. I'm very good friends with Mary Beth Peel and John Bolton, who were in it, and I'm friendly with Lynn and Steve, and Christy and I had never met, and we just met on opening night, but I'm a big fan. So I'm a fan of yours. Appreciation for the show. I didn't come in thinking like, I'm going to change it. I just had to figure out how to do it with nothing, and how to, which is my style really, is like, I'm kind of a minimalist, and ask the question of like, what's the least we can do to engage the audience's imagination the most and show the audience what they really want in a small theater, which is very different than a big Broadway house, is connection to the actor, and getting them as close to the audience as possible so that we feel like we're in a storefront, even though Bucks County is not a storefront, but it feels like I get to see this giant play in this tiny room, and experience the emotions of it differently. So I really had to translate the grandeur of what I'd seen on Broadway and admired so much to this completely different vernacular in about 30 seconds. I had about 30 seconds to make it.
Yeah. I love how you put that too, though, as thinking about it, that it really is this intimate grandeur that you've created. That's really, it's really cool. Eric also directed here at Bucks County Tick Tick Boom a few years ago, which was also had that kind of intimacy. That was really, really beautiful. And American Jade as well, which was a solo show. So it's nice to have you back on our stage for this beautiful, beautiful production. So I wanted to know if you would talk a little bit about the casting, because I was saying earlier to Lyda Jade about how a lot of the directors that I talk to come to BCP. I always ask them, like, and they all say, it's casting. If you get casting is like 95% of the way there. If you can get the right people in the room, you can do anything.
But I mean, that's often true. And a shortcut is usually hiring people And in this cast, the only person I knew before was Eric Lochtefeld, who plays Vlad, who I've known for 30 years. But everyone else was like, is strangers to me. And
so how do you know then?
It is not my first rodeo. I've been doing this my whole life. And I'm older than you think I am. And I just know, like, I don't even, it's not even hard. Like, it's, as soon as LJ walked in the room, I was like, her. And everyone was like, it can't be her. She's 12. And I'm like, nope. Bring her back. And she did come in to cover. And I was like, she's in the wrong group. I'm serious. You really want to, you and her? I was like, yes, I absolutely mean her. And you knew, LJ, by the time we got to the audition that it was yours. Like, I was like, basically, it was like, yeah, great. I'll see you on Tuesday. But that's, it does take, because you work fast, it takes a lot of self-trust, right? That like, the only thing I know for sure is that I understand great acting, and great musicianship is the job of our music director, and great dance ability is the job of our choreographer. And I trusted those guys a lot, but acting comes first. And it is the capacity of a story like this to hold the emotional center of a protagonist that we really care about. Goes back to the Greeks, right? That we have to like believe that Anya is someone with whom we can experience the joy and hardship of life and feel what she feels. And that is, why I love theater, is that seeing Christy in the role, seeing LJ in the role, two people that I cared about very differently, but felt in both shows like, I love this show because I love them. And so then finding the everyone else, after you get the lovers and after you get the, like, the comic principles and all the other pieces, it would have gone, and that's what I have to say about that. Very clever casting.
Very beautifully said too. It's like, finding the authentic heart of the show through the actors. What was something that you discovered that surprised you through this process?
The thing that my favorite part about the show now is the ballet sequence. There's a whole sequence in which Swan Lake is enacted while a secondary text is the characters' relationship to each other and the dance text and the musical text. And it's hard for me because I don't do dance musicals very often. So I was like, I don't know what this is. And Al Blackstone, the brilliant choreographer, started making the actual dances, and we were going to stage it very differently. And in rehearsal one day, I was like, you guys, this is wrong. It can't be about those people watching the show in a static way and singing about it. And I just started moving people around in space, and it went from being something that I loved as the idea of it, and understood it on Broadway because it had all this. It was very grand and very, very, very different. And in this, I just was like, made it kind of cubist and said, like, let's overlap these things and move the people around and explain it. I didn't know what I was doing. And within 2 hours, we were all like, oh, that's cool. And then seeing pictures of it, I mean, that photo you just showed is my favorite picture of any show I've ever directed.
It's beautiful.
It explains exactly what I mean. All the worlds colliding in the same way was that totally surprised. That was definitely a like, how could we possibly achieve that? And
really cool.
Yeah, it was so fun. Really fun.
And the suspension of disbelief it's good. It's not, you don't need to have the box seats there. We get it. She's in the audience, you know. We feel that in the way that it's choreographed. It's beautiful. Yeah.
But it was, I mean, like if you did that on Broadway, people would be like, why are you doing that? It's about scale of room and about like I don't know, we ask different things of ourselves when we walk into a Broadway house and than we do when we walk into the theaters I usually work in, which are regional and or off-Broadway spaces. Not that I don't want to direct on Broadway, but if you're listening, Mr. Producer, but I love the creativity of what we bring to when we don't have everything. I was trained by Mary Zimmerman, the great director, and she used to say, find the most impossible thing to stage and make that exactly how it feels without having anything other than fabric and a couple of actors.
Oh gosh.
That's what we learned in school. And it was like, that to me is the thrill of theater is.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I really love working in education, because it really sort of, you know, forces you to kind of look at things like that. And this is such a great example, this production of Anastasia, of that too, because it's really simple, but it's everything. It's completely full. It's beautiful. We have just a few more minutes left. I know that Christy, you're going to be going to revive this role at Lincoln in February.
Yes, I am. I'm excited. February 17th at the Lincoln Center. It's going to be so much fun.
LJ, will you be my date?
What?
LJ, will you be my date?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Oh my gosh, I'd be so nervous to perform it in front of you.
Turnabout is fair play, Christy.
What?
Turnabout is fair play.
Damn right. Also, Lyda Jade, you'll absolutely play Venla in Spring Awakening one day. My goodness.
Please.
You'd be so perfect. I guess I stopped when I was like 24 playing the role, so you could do it. You could totally. You have time. It's not your moment is not ended. You have to find a plan to do it.
And Anastasia, which just opened last weekend, is running through January 5th at Bucks County Playhouse. Come and see this beautiful, it's like this jewel box production of this beautiful musical with Lyda Jane Harlan, directed by Eric Rosen, and in a role originated by Christy Altomare. I can't believe I'm sitting here with all three of you right now. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us about your experience with this beautiful show. Is there any last thoughts before we close out?
There are a couple of questions in your comments.
Oh, how come I'm not seeing them?
I'll ask you. Hey, Christy, what's it like to pass the torch, so to speak, for Lyda Jade? What's it like to have this connection with the original actress?
Well, meeting her after the show, I mean, seeing her, she was wonderful, but meeting her after the show, she embodies all of what I believe Anya should be. She's full of light and love and all good things. So it was a good passing of the torch, so to say.
It was such a pleasure to meet Christy after. I did not know she was there, so I panicked when I found out. But gosh, I told her then, but I admire you so much constantly, still, always. I have for a long time. So it meant the world for you to be there. And
so you just found out on Saturday and met for the first time? I love that.
I did not want her to know before the show, because that would make me so. I know I would. I don't like when I know a friend is in the audience, so I couldn't imagine.
I knew you were coming at some point, and then I ran into you as we were walking out the theater, and I was sort of in the shocked haze of like, the show just opened, and Christy started talking to me, and I was like, oh my God, you're you.
I was like, I loved this part of the show.
I never said that. I was like, oh, you know this. Oh, hi. Nice to see you.
I know.
Next week, on December 5th, we're bringing 150 students from Morrisville. They're fifth and sixth graders that we've been working with, part of our partnership here.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're coming to see the show. And so one of the questions is, what do you hope that the children and the teen audiences will take away from the show, with the history being so interesting?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I don't know. I think connecting to your past is one of the biggest parts of this show for me, no matter where you are in life. I think memory and all of that has been, besides this show, just a very important, thing to me. And so I just hope they can all connect to it, no matter, what they've been through, how they were raised, what part of their identity they're discovering now. Like, I just know that I was talking about this in an article I did an interview for, that I relate to Anya a lot because I don't have amnesia. I never did. But there have been times in life where I've felt a loss of identity and a loss of self. I think the fact that Anya and myself, we both chose not to just back down and, let the world and the darkness take over. It's the decision to persist. And I think maybe if kids can gather that from this production, awesome. Roll with that. Because that's what I've gathered.
Yeah, especially that age, right? Who am I?
Right.
Who do I want to be? Who do I want to be in the world? And there's another question here. This is for all three of you. Do you have any tips for memorizing lines?
Oh, I'll show you. Voice memos. That's about it, though.
Ooh.
Literally just have it all Anya, page, all of that. Just remember cues, man. That's the best thing for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I've done that before too. That's really good.
I don't memorize lines because I'm a director, so I don't have to.
Good for you.
We should force you to, so you can know what it's like.
And we have another question from John Kelly Shelburne. Hey, Christy, it's John Kelly. Would you ever consider playing Lily or the Dowager Empress one day?
Absolutely. Without a question, John Kelly. Also, hi, John Kelly. Yes, no, of course. Absolutely. I would love to play both of those roles. I guess Lily sooner down the line and Grandmama later down the line. Hopefully I get to play both one day. That would be so much fun.
It would be fun. So thank you again so much. Congratulations to all. And let's here's to the next rest of the run till January 5th of Anastasia at the Playhouse. Thank you, Eric Rosen, Lyda Jane Harlan, I got it right, and Christy Altomare. Thank you so much. And for everyone else, come and see Anastasia. It's playing at the Playhouse through January 5th, and we'd love to see you there. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Absolutely.
We're very grateful for all of you and happy to be working in the theater. So thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.